Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies, and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country. Issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. That's Radyo Pilipinas World Service, and you can hear this program through our audio streaming via PBS Evox receiver app. Also on our shortwave broadcast through following frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. And this is your host, Jerome Toledo. Let's begin Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Senator Rodante Marcoleta on February 4 was questioning the Philippine military official about the definition and coordinates of the West Philippine Sea, or WPS. He argued that including the Kalayaan Island Group, or KIG, in the WPS map is technically difficult because he claims some of the island features lie beyond the Philippines' 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. So we will play a portion of what Senator Marcoleta said in Filipino during the interpellation of 35 senior military officials at the Commission on Appointments hearing last Thursday. Take a listen.
Kapag ka magkakaroon po ng giyera sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa, kayo po ang una nasasagupa dito. Kaya dapat po mas interesado kayo kaysa sa amin. Ano ba talaga ipagpapatayan natin dito? We will offer our lives, including the lives of our children, and to die for it, for something that is not even within our EEZ. Ang gawin natin po para madali, i-give up natin yung KIG. Then, mako-coordinate na natin lahat. But until and unless nandun yung KIG, wala nga po nasa labas po ng ating exclusive economic zone. Paano po malalagay sa entire West Philippine Sea?
Senator Rodante Marcoleta. So, how is this going to impact our territorial integrity and sovereign rights of that suggestion of Senator Rodante Marcoleta regarding the Kalayaan Island Group? So, right now, we're now being joined by a maritime law expert and director of Institute for Maritime Affairs and Law of the Sea of the University of the Philippines, Professor J. Batumbakal. Good morning, Professor J. Thank you so much for joining us in the program. This is Jerome Toledo, Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning to you and all of our listeners.
Okay, so I will start my discussion this morning, Professor J, for this particular issue on the Kalayaan Island Group. So, how does the international law reconcile the Philippines' claim over the Kalayaan Island Group, which is under the Presidential Decree 1596 with the 2016 arbitral ruling present? So, which primarily address the maritime rights rather than territorial sovereignty, Professor J?
Yes, the 2016 South Chinese arbitration was directed towards the maritime rights of the Philippines in the waters around the Kalayaan Island Group and measured from the main archipelago of Palawan, Mindoro, and Luzon. So this is a separate issue from the issue of sovereignty over the Kalayaan Islands. These two are covered by different sets of international law, different rules of international law. Sovereignty over the islands and rocks in the Kalayaan Island Group is governed by customary international law, while the rights to the waters around them, including the waters between the Kalayaan Islands and the main archipelago, are covered by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. So when the arbitral ruling came out, it addressed only the issues of the maritime rights to the waters. It did not at all deal with the sovereignty over the islands there.
Okay, because Senator Marcoleta argued that the 2016 arbitral ruling did not specify the coordinates or meets and bounds of the West Philippine Sea, and that 17 features of the KIG fall outside the 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. So does the Calayan Island group needs to be inside the EEZ, Professor J?
No, because as I mentioned, this is the determination of sovereignty over these islands is covered by a different set of rules under customary international law. It does not depend on whether or not they're inside or outside 200 nautical miles from the mainland of the Philippines. In the same way that in many other countries all around the world, you have many island territories that are so far away from the mainland. So, for example, the United States, there is no question that Hawaii is part of the United States, and yet Hawaii is more than 1,000 miles away, if I'm not mistaken, from the coast of the mainland U.S. And Alaska, for example, you have Canada right between Alaska and the mainland United States. No? So this is what I mean by the issue being covered only by customary international law. And so UNCLOS is not relevant to determining sovereignty over those islands and rocks there.
Okay. But for this one, does claiming outlying feature in the KIG as part of the Philippine territory actually violate UNCLOS, or was the senator misinterpreting the relationship between the territorial sea and the high seas?
I think it's a misrepresentation and misunderstanding of the relationship between UNCLOS and the Calayan Island Group, no? And the nature of our rights, the basis of our entitlements there. No? Whether or not they're inside or outside 200 nautical miles doesn't matter. What matters is whether we are actually exercising sovereignty on those islands. And on that matter, there should be no question at all. After all, it is a municipality of Palawan.
Yeah.
And we have a community there, and we have been exercising all the rights of the state in that area.
And also, since it's part of a municipality of Palawan province, so that involves national security here, Professor J.
Yes, our interests in the Calayan Island Group definitely also involve national security because it is at the edge of the EEZ, no? As you mentioned, it is at the edge of the West Philippine Sea, and many of our maritime interests are locked into the West Philippine Sea, that area of the EEZ and continental shelf west of the country. So everything from fisheries to petroleum to trade to access to the rest of Asia and the world, even our interest in cyber is embedded there in the West Philippine Sea. And the Calayan Island Group happens to be located in a very strategic area, no, from which we can guard and surveil all of these interests.
Okay. All right. Again, I would like to ask this. To make it clear, why was the territorial validity of the Calayan Island Group, Prof. J, excluded from the 2016 arbitration, and how does that affect our current enforcement of the ruling?
With respect to the exclusion from the arbitration, it's because the arbitration is a matter of interpretation and application of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Okay, so it's emphasis on the sea. It is not about the law of the land, no, or a law over territories of states. So the matter of determining sovereignty over land territory is completely outside of the scope of the law of the sea, and that's why you cannot make any connection between the status of sovereignty over those islands and rocks and whether or not they're within or outside any maritime zone of the Philippines. So, because it is unresolved, that means that for the country to maintain its sovereignty, then it must continue to treat those islands as if it were any other part of the country, any ordinary part of the country, and exercise all the sovereignty and jurisdictions and rights it has over any other part of the land of the Philippines. So any attempt or even just the proposal by Senator Marcoleta to just give it up, no, is in fact a surrender, an abdication of a part of the national territory.
Right.
That's why it elicits such extreme reactions from people who have been all this time, no, for many decades, have been trying to fight for our rights and assert our sovereignty over all of our territories.
Well, how do you think of that, Professor J? Giving us the Senator Marcoleta suggestion to give up the Calayan Island group, does that create a confusion to eventually diminish or reduce our awareness of these island group?
Well, it is indeed a very dangerous thing for a senator who is supposedly a member of the upper house of the legislature to make such a suggestion as if he is not even sure himself whether or not the Calayan Island group is part of the Philippines. That in itself, no, can be taken as an admission against interest if this matter were to be brought before an international tribunal. And at the very least, it can be used by the other parties to show, no, that your claim is really not substantiated because your own legislators in the upper house do not give it that status, no, do not consider it to be part of your territory. So why should they accept any statement or position of the government, no, when the government itself is not sure? So that's why that is very dangerous.
All right. Also, although Senator Marcoleta said that, but he received backlash on that statement. But at the same time, do you believe this particular discussion created public awareness?
Well, of course, it created public awareness, although in a rather negative way, shall we say. Because instead of it being a calm discussion of, okay, these are our island territories, instead you have this guy saying, let's give this part up. And then it's only because of the reaction that people suddenly become aware of it. No? It's like it starts from an uncertainty, a sudden loss of confidence about what you know to be your territory. So in that sense, it also directly undermines the confidence and faith of our people in what they know to be part of our territory.
Yes, because
so if they can do that to like the Calayan Island group, what keeps them from doing it to say the Batanes or Palawan or any other part of the country?
Because we only focus on Scarborough Shoals, Pratis Island, and some other maritime territory of the Philippines. But here we are. We're discussing about the Calayan Island group, which is not being mentioned often in the news. Professor J.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not being mentioned because, especially for the past decade and decade and a half, that has definitely been part of the discussion of all of these disputes with China in the West Philippine Sea. I think the problem is because people are not familiar with international law, they're not familiar with the text of the claims, they haven't been apprised completely of what the facts are. If they're vulnerable to confusion, especially by people who either work on the basis of ignorance or they speak with the intention of completely undermining the knowledge of our people through misinformation and disinformation.
Okay, all right.
So that's probably why.
Okay. Given the national security impact of this statement coming from Senator Marcoleta, what are the other long-term consequences of, as we know, giving an inch in the Calayan Island group, specifically regarding the security of the Philippines' western coastline? I remember President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said that the country will not give up even an inch of our territory.
Yes, well, of course, the long-term implication of this is to shake the commitment of the people and the country to defending this territory, all of these territories, and their rights as well in the sea areas around them. So if this is allowed to pass, it will continue to, if it is allowed to pass without consequences, it will probably happen again and keep on happening again and again, especially since we know that there is also a lot of misinformation and disinformation that is deliberately being spread through social media. No? And Senator Marcoleta is not alone. There are other personalities who also work against the interests of the country by repeating these kinds of positions and statements that undermine our country's position on the Calayan Island Group and sovereignty over that, as well as our maritime rights to the waters around them. So this will contribute, probably to this slow deterioration of the commitment. And so, and also, definitely the other side, they will take advantage of this, and they will use this against us, in every possible opportunity. Whether they're talking with us directly during bilateral negotiations or whether they're talking with other countries, they'll say that, oh, look, the Philippines are crazy because even they don't know what their claim is. So you better work with us on what you want to do in this area because they're irrelevant. So you have that situation growing, festering and growing. So that is the long term, and I think that is the long term objective really of all of this misinformation and disinformation.
All right. Moving forward, Professor J, what can the Philippine government do to protect our interests there in the West Philippine Sea, including the Calayan Island Group?
Well, of course, number one, it has to firmly reiterate its position about the Calayan Island Group, that it is an integral part of the country, of the territory, and it will not be given up so easily as the senator proposes. Second, I think that the government, especially the executive, must clearly dissociate itself from Senator Marcoleta in his statement, and perhaps even request the Senate, because that is a separate branch of the government, to take action against Senator Marcoleta for making such kinds of statements, either perhaps a request to censure the senator for making these kinds of statements against the national interest, or any other measures available to discipline their members. Because really, this goes beyond political parties and affiliations. This is a matter of national interest of the country as a whole. It's not only because it's the president or the previous president or the one before it. This is an interest of the entire nation. And therefore, political lines should be crossed. And this kind of statement, which clearly goes against the interest of the nation, of the state, should be, at the minimum, censured. And perhaps subject to further discipline if the Senate so warrants.
Okay, but on the other hand, Professor J, Senator Marcoleta clarified that his statement is not a pro-China statement, but rather that is a point of view as a ordinary Filipino citizen and also a lawmaker.
We cannot say that it is only his ordinary opinion because he said it during a formal proceeding, during the Commission on Appointments meeting. He was discharging official functions in a way because of his presence and participation there. So you cannot just suddenly inject that, oh, I'm here only in a personal capacity. So if it's really serious, not only should he withdraw the statement and admit that his wrongdoing, he should also move to strike that statement from the record himself, instead of other parties instead of having other parties do it, and he should apologize to the Filipino nation for making such statements that are contrary to the national interest. I think that's the minimum that he should do if he's really sincere, and try to, if he's really sincere in trying to remedy this huge controversy, this huge situation that he created.
Okay, very well said. Okay, but before I let you go, I would like to include in the discussion particularly the role of the National Mapping and Resource Information Authority, or NAMRIA, in defining our maritime territory and defend our claims to a tribunal or to a country. So how important is their role in this in this matter, Professor J?
Well, of course, course, the NAMRIA is a technical agency, and it can only act based on the approval and clearance of, at the minimum, the Secretary of Environment and Natural Resources, and the maximum, normally, the President. No? So its role here is mainly in information, because after all, that is the task of the NAMRIA. It's about resource information, really. So its function here in relation to these claims is to come up with maps, okay, and submit them to the appropriate bodies, like the official maps of the Philippines to all the LGUs. Publish that. No? And there are also tasks like making submissions, technical submissions to UN bodies, no? And other international organizations. So that is its role. But we have to understand that this is only technical and information purposes. NAMRIA, in making such submissions, does not act as some kind of lawyer establishing a claim. And those bodies to which it is submitting, especially if it's a UN organization like the International Hydrographic Organization, they are not similar to a register of deeds, or they are not courts. They do not decide on the basis of the submission of NAMRIA whether a part of the ocean belongs to one country or not. That is not its function. So again, I think this is also another one of those mistaken assumptions of Senator Marcoleta and others like him, that by making a submission to the IHO, it establishes the claim or strengthens the claim. It does not. No? It does not. It only informs people. Okay? To really establish and strengthen the claim, what you need to do is to actually exercise sovereignty over the area. No? Exercise the rights of the state, carry out the functions of the state. No? That is what matters, not really this submission to the IHO.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So very, very well said. So can I have your message to our Filipinos here and across the world watching this development, particularly in the Calayan Island group? So how can Filipino be involved in this discussion when it comes to our maritime territory, Professor J?
Well, perhaps we start with what I said earlier. The matter of sovereignty over the Calayan Island Group and Scarborough Shoal, and the matter of the exercise of our jurisdictions and rights over our exclusive economic zone and continental shelf under the law of the sea, these are matters of national interest. These are the interests of the people of the Philippines, the state of the Philippines. It is not the interest of any one political party or group. No? It is something that transcends the political boundaries, and therefore we should always have only one unified position when it comes to questions about this. And the answer will always be that the Calayan Island Group is ours. The exclusive economic zone in continental sea, they are also ours, and that's why we refer to them as the West Philippine Sea. And we should not budge from that position. Even if, of course, there are disputes that we want to settle and negotiate, we should always negotiate with the position of strength, with a unified position, and not allow these kinds of people and positions and statements that undermine that strength. Because otherwise, any future settlement will end up being to our disadvantage. So that's why it's important for the people probably to express, especially against people like Senator Marcoleta, who make these kinds of careless statements, to express their displeasure and opposition to their acts and statements that undermine the interests of the Filipino nation. After all, this is a matter that will not affect only us, but also future generations of Filipinos, who will be the ones to benefit from all of the resources and rights that are present in those areas that are being taken away, or that other countries are attempting to take away from them by coercion and force.
All right, very well said. And With that, thank you so much for joining us in the program to explain the situation there in the Kalayaan Island group, and as well as the statements of Senator Rodante Marcoleta. And we hope there will be more in talks between the executive and the legislative, particularly in this particular issue affecting our maritime territory issue. Thank you so much, Professor J. Batumbakal, maritime law expert and director of Institute for Maritime Affairs and Law of the Sea of the University of the Philippines.
Welcome, and good morning to everyone.
All right. And okay, so we now jump to our presidential live event. As let's listen into the speech of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. As he inaugurates a energy facility in Laguna Province. Let's listen in.
Mula sa Presidential Communications Office at Radyo Pilipinas, ito ang Presidential Live Event. Presidential Live Event.
Your kind introduction. Please take your seats. The cabinet ministers here present, Secretary Sharon Garin, Secretary Chris Roque, and Secretary Kiko, I didn't forget you. And of course, the Special Assistant to the President, Secretary Lagdomeo. The Aboitiz Equity Ventures, Inc., President and CEO, Sabine Aboitiz, and all the officials and employees of the Aboitiz Group of Companies, local government officials who are joining us today, partners in the private sectors and stakeholders, Japanese Ambassador Endo Kazuya. I'm sorry I cannot return the favor because my Japanese is non-existent. Our invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today's turnover of the Caliraya Botocan Kalayaan Hydroelectric Power Plant marks a deliberate step toward an energy system that is steadier in operation, smarter in design, and ready for the future that we are building. A future where Filipinos can count on electricity that keeps pace with their needs and works without disruption. The CBK HEPP is one of the largest hydropower complexes in Luzon, with an overall capacity of 797 megawatts, composed of 3 distinct but complementary facilities, each one serving a clear and practical purpose. Caliraya Power Plant is an impounded water system. And the same as Sabine, I have many memories about using Caliraya, Sierra Lakes as we go there for the weekend. And I actually, unlike you, I actually met Marlon Brando when they were filming Apocalypse Now. It may not be, people may not know this, but it was actually created for the power storage of the Bataan nuclear power plant. And it had the same idea as we are doing now, wherein, because a nuclear power plant cannot be turned off, for all intents and purposes, it can be slowed down, but it cannot be turned off. And in times of low demand, the surplus power would be used to pump water up to Caliraya. And in times of high demand, the nuclear power plant would produce power, and they would release water to produce hydroelectric power. And I'm very, very glad that its original purpose is now being used to power our grid and to bring power to our people. Now, Botocan operates as a run-of-river system. Kalayaan is a pump storage facility. And for many years, the CBK complex has already played a vital role in supporting Luzon's grid. With this privatization, completed through the successful bid of over 36.27 billion pesos, the government is able to unlock significant resources while ensuring the continued operation of a strategically important energy asset. In doing so, the government can invest where it matters most, in our people. Particularly, these resources can be directed towards the immediate needs of the public, such as for classrooms, for roads, and for hospitals. And as we continue to diversify our energy sources, facilities like CBK help support renewable energy integration into the grid. During off-peak hours, excess power is used to pump water to an upper reservoir. When the demand is high, the water is released to generate electricity, allowing cleaner energy to work reliable at scale. Together, they form a system designed not just to generate power, but to balance the supply and demand across the entire power system. This is made possible through the Kalayaan Pump Storage Facility, which supports grid stability. And as investments are made to modernize and improve these facilities, these benefits will extend beyond just the grid and create an impact in the lives of our fellow Filipinos. For households, this means fewer power interruptions. For hospitals and schools, it means fewer service disruption. As for our workers and entrepreneurs, it means time saved, productivity gained, and opportunities found and sustained. Indeed, stable power keeps daily life on schedule. This gives essential services and industries reliability, and it gives families peace of mind. This is why we in government continue to strengthen the systems in our energy sector by improving policies, processes, and partnerships to ensure that energy reliability and affordability are sustained in the long term. Building on the strength of both the public and private sectors, we encourage collaborations that safeguard the public interest while promoting transparency and accountability. We thank the Thunder Consortium for taking on this responsibility with a clear commitment to long-term stewardship. This privatization reflects investors' confidence in the direction of our country's energy sector. It also demonstrates, once again, how strategic public-private collaboration transforms investment in essential infrastructure into reliable everyday services that people can trust. I'm optimistic that both the CBK complex and our public-private partnership will help power a more secure, more stable, and more forward-looking future for the Filipino people. Thank you very much. Mabuhay kayong lahat. Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And you just heard the speech of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. as he leads the transition of stewardship of the Caliraya Butocan Kalayaan CBK hydroelectric power plant in Barangay San Juan, Kalayaan, Laguna today, February 9, 2026. And during the ceremony, the President inspects the control room facilities where he is presented with a plaque commemorating the transition of stewardship of the CBK hydroelectric power plants. He also pressed the button which illuminates the power plant's diorama, symbolizing the successful transition of stewardship and the start of a new concession period. And that hydroelectric power plant, or power complex rather, which includes the Caliraya, Botocan, and Kalayaan power plants, is one of Luzon's most important renewable energy resources, and that complex includes a 39.52 megawatt Caliraya hydroelectric power plant, the 23.10 megawatt Botocan hydroelectric power plant, and the Kalayaan pump storage facilities, which is Kalayaan 1 with 366 megawatts and Kalayaan 2 with 367.95 megawatts, bringing the total installed capacity of the power plants to nearly 797 megawatts. And the transition occurs after a 25-year build, rehabilitate, operate, transfer agreement ends in February 2026, and the successful privatization of the CBK complex. And present there in that ceremony are Energy Secretary Sharon Garin, Finance Secretary Frederick Go, and other key stakeholders of that hydroelectric power plant. And before we go, we will go back to our discussion earlier regarding the statement of Senator Rodante Marcoleta, as that particular statement has met with sharp rebukes from lawmakers, experts, and local officials. And first one is Senate President pro tempore Panfilo Ping Lacson, as he slammed the suggestion stating that giving up the Calayan Island Group is no different from surrendering the entire Luzon Island or entire country. He emphasized that the Calayan Island Group belongs to the Philippines through first discovery and occupation, as he cites the discovery of the Calayan Island Group by mariner or seafarer Tomas Cloma. And also, Senator Lacson has also backed a move to strike Marcoleta's remarks from the official Senate record, as Professor J. Batumbakal, our maritime law expert, said earlier. And also, we now have the development here that Senator Lacson is backing a move to strike Marcoleta's remarks, or erasing or deleting that statement from Senate records, and calling them unpleasant and damaging to the country's legal possession, or position rather. And Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan said that, or countered Marcoleta's lack of coordinate statement or argument by citing the 2016 arbitral ruling and the Philippine Maritime Zones Act. Meanwhile, Philippine Coast Guard Commodore or Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, said inviting rather the Senator Marcoleta to join the Maritime Domain Awareness flight to Pag-asa Island, and he challenged the senator to see the thriving Filipino community there, and reminded him of his oath to defend the republic. And also, there's a statement coming from the local government itself, the Calayan Island. They said that they felt offended and insulted by that statement from Senator Marcoleta. Vice Mayor Maurice Philip Albaida announced plans to file a resolution requesting the Senate to officially remove Marcoleta's comments from the Senate. And in defense, Senator Marcoleta has claimed his words were taken out of context and abbreviated. He maintains that he was simply highlighting gaps in the country's maritime maps, and arguing that 2016 arbitral award does not explicitly cover all features of the Calayan Island Group. And to wrap this up, we have gathered the statements of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on three different occasions in 2022, 2023, and 2024. But it all bear the same powerful and stern affirmation, which is to defend the territory and not give up even an inch. Take a listen. All right, so we'll try to play the statements of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in three different occasions in 2022, 2023, and 2024.
On the area of foreign policy, I will not preside over any process that will abandon even 1 square inch of territory of the Republic of the Philippines to any foreign power. The country has seen heightened geopolitical tensions that do not conform to our ideals of peace and threaten the security and stability of the country, of the region, and of the world. This country will not lose 1 inch of its territory. We will continue to uphold. We will continue to uphold our territorial integrity and sovereignty in accordance with our Constitution and with international law. I shall never tire of repeating the declaration that I made from the first day that I took office. I will not allow any attempt by any foreign power to take even 1 square inch of our sovereign territory. The challenges that we face may be formidable, but equally formidable is our resolve. We will not yield.
The powerful and a stern affirmation of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. to defend our territorial rights in the West Philippine Sea. And with that, we now conclude this edition of Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Together with our technical team headed by Ms. Susan Aizon, on Wirecast, Justine Osias, and audio streaming, Mr. Leo Magpayo. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.